In this video, we are going to connect the dots to find the lost advanced antediluvian civilization from which our current society derives. The myths of Lemuria are written in the ancient text, and all clues point towards the ancient Indian people, the Tamils, and Southeast Asia. So far, no one made the connection between the Aztec sun god stone and the representation of the wheel of life in the old Vedic text, Hinduism and Buddhism, some of the oldest religions. The ancient people knew that everything in life is cyclical. The Bhava Chakra illustration, also known as the wheel of life, is a representation of the cycle of existence or samsara. Samsara refers to the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth that beings undergo in the realm of conditioned existence. It's characterized by the experience of suffering and the continuous cycle of attachment, aversion, and ignorance. So let's explore the similarities between the Aztec stone and the representation of samsara. They are both depicted in a circular pattern, and they both feature animals, particularly the three main animals, the serpent, the pig, and the bird. In the Aztec stone, the divine being is portrayed in the center, showing his teeth, while in samsara, the divine being is positioned above the wheel, also showing his teeth. The similarities between them are remarkable. The god on the Aztec tablet is thought to represent the sun. Now let's see if that fits with the divine being in the samsara representation. This god is called Yama, a deity of death, dharma, the south direction, and the underworld, who predominantly features in Hindu and Buddhist religions. He is the son of the sun god Surya. There is a heavy symbolism connecting all religions that derive from the primordial tradition of this lost civilization. I will talk about this aspect more in my next video. Now let's see another connection. The mainstream narrative will say that the resemblance between the Mescala stone figures made by the Mescala culture, an ancient Mesoamerican civilization, and the Easter Island statues is simply a coincidence, just like my previous example. But it's obvious that they were made by civilizations who shared the same past. The features and the design are remarkably similar. I would argue that the ancestors of the Mescala people once lived on the land that sank and was connected with Easter Island. The fact that these giant sculptures, once thought to be only heads, are buried underground speaks to me of a giant cataclysmic event. Some place the continent between Australia and South America, stretching across the vast expanse of the Pacific Ocean. The author of the censored book Adam and Eve's Story, A History of Cataclysm, has described the Mayan and Indian people as sharing the same culture and language, which he referred to as the Naga Maya language. And indeed they have similarities. The Indian Kali Yuga begins in 3102 BC, while the Maya Yuga begins in 3114 BC. The Mayan and Tamil architecture is very similar, and later the same style appears in Mesopotamia, where they call it as ziggurat structures. The Quimbaya artifacts are small golden figures left by the pre-Columbian civilization. Archaeologists are guessing that most likely they represent birds, fish, insects, and other animals that existed during that time. But you can see that they were very skillfully made, and some of them look like our modern aircrafts. My guess is that they are the Vimanas described in the ancient Hindu texts. Take a look at the resemblance of the circled artifact and the Shakuna Vimana. These ancient Egyptian carvings show a helicopter, an aircraft, a modern boat, and possibly a submarine. I don't think this is a simple coincidence. The mainstream narrative debunks this as plaster erosion that somehow created these forms similar to our modern technology. However, there is an old saying that goes, "There's nothing new under the sun." This saying suggests that everything that appears to be new or innovative is actually based on existing knowledge, ideas, or concepts that have been rediscovered. The antediluvian civilization was very advanced. Take a look at these carvings in an Indian temple explaining fertilization. Surely they didn't have a microscope or modern technology around 800 BC to 200 BC, right? Well, they didn't, but imagine if a doctor survived the catastrophic event. He could have written or sculpted his knowledge in a stone. You can take away the technology and the tools, but not the knowledge in his head. That's why the sacred Vedas were passed orally for thousands of years before they were written down. The knowledge inside the sacred texts in India and Tibet is astonishing. In fact, that's why everyone went to the south. That's why the Nazis went into Tibet and the British Crown colonized India. It's not a coincidence that the father of the atomic bomb, J. Robert Oppenheimer, cited Vishnu from the Bhagavad Gita.
He knew the world would not be the same. Few people laughed. Few people cried. Most people were silent. I remembered the line from the Hindu scripture, the Bhagavad Gita. Vishnu is trying to persuade the prince that he should do his duty, and to impress him takes on his multi-armed form and says, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds." I suppose we all thought that one way or another.
The sacred geometry, advanced mathematics, and discussion of the existence of atoms in ancient India and Greece show a brief glimpse of the forgotten knowledge that very few among the humanity today possesses. Knowledge hidden in the occult, secret societies, and hidden religions. The sunken city of Unagi near Taiwan is considered as proof of a large submerged landmass which, according to some, was stretching all the way to Antarctica. The Polynesian people believed that Antarctica was the place of their ancestors. They told stories about their ancestors coming from the South Continent, and the French academic Argord compiled all of these stories in the book Out of Antarctica. So indeed, in Antarctica we can find interesting features like this giant face that you can locate at these coordinates. The face resembles the sculptures from the Olmec civilization in Mesoamerica, the ancient Chinese culture, the Polynesian and the African masks. That can be a coincidence, right? Take a look at these coordinates and the pyramids in Antarctica. They are covered in mud and snow and they are ancient and eroded. The biggest one appears to be oriented differently, indicating that it was pointing towards a different North Pole. It's my personal opinion that the shifting of the poles, the lowering of the Earth's magnetic field and the increased sun activity are responsible for the resets of the civilizations in which very few survive. There are plenty of pyramids covered with ground and trees that look like mountain hills. The Spanish conquistadors, led by Hernán Cortés, arrived in Cholula in 1519. They were astonished by the grandeur of the pyramid, but at first they didn't recognize it as a pyramid. They believe it to be a natural hill with a temple on top. Now the Great Pyramid of Cholula in Mexico is considered to be the largest pyramid in the world if we discount the ones in Antarctica and Bosnia, which the mainstream does. I have written a post about the pyramid in Bosnia and what was uncovered. You should read it. I'll leave the link in the description. There are also many man-made pyramids in China covered by vegetation. They are ancient, and the only reason the Egyptians' pyramids were visible is because of the dry weather and lack of vegetation. Multiple ancient and medieval Tamil and Sanskrit texts contain legendary accounts of lands south of India being lost to the ocean, and from those texts the legends of Lemuria started in the Western world. The Tamils called the land Kumarikandam. The name first appeared in Kanda Puranam, a 15th century Tamil version of the Skanda Purana. According to the proponents of Kumarikandam, the continent was submerged at the end of the last ice age when sea levels rose. As a result, the Tamil people migrated to other lands and intermixed with different groups, leading to the development of new races, languages and civilizations. Some theories even propose that all of humanity descended from the inhabitants of Kumarikandam. Both narratives agree that Tamil culture is the origin of all civilized cultures in the world, and Tamil is considered the mother language of all other languages. One of the clues is this recently discovered ancient geoglyph in Macedonia called the Kanda geoglyph. It's my interpretation that this means flooded in the old Tamil Brahmi script and is possibly connected to the great antediluvian flood. This speaks of a worldwide connected civilization before the flood, and the geoglyph is either made by the local survivors or by the survivors from Kumari Kandam who settled in the new area. One more clue about the lost civilization is the elongated skulls found in different regions of the world. According to the mainstream narrative, it's a coincidence that different unconnected cultures practice elongating their skulls, but of course that's not a coincidence, and it's connected to the lost civilization. Why do all these gods from different religions wear a similar pointed head? This tradition passed to new religions like Christianity, and the head is known as the Mitra. From the oldest Vedic texts, the deities Mitra Varunas and the god of the sun Surya, to Baal, Osiris, Mithras and Quetzalcoatl, the Aztec deity, all are depicted with similar elongated pointed heads. This is the key that ties everything to the primordial tradition and the ancient advanced civilization. Elongated skulls can be found in America, Africa, Europe, Asia and Australasia, the place of the sunken continent known as Kumari Kandam, Lemuria or Mu. In my opinion, this has everything to do with vibration, frequency and tuning to consciousness and higher dimensions. Changing the shape of the skull makes the brain adapt differently, and recent studies show that this practice doesn't do any damage to the brain. Just like all ancient and new religious temples have domes pointed parts or are built like spirals pointed upwards, I assume the elongated skull has the same function. Similar to the Koziarev mirror, if made properly, following the sacred numbers and the Fibonacci sequence, you could tune into higher dimensions more easily. But this is just my opinion, and I think the Hemroth and Penrose quantum consciousness and vibrations in the microtubules have something to do with this. I have a video about this on my channel, so you should check it out. One of the first settlements established by the survivors of the catastrophic event is the Indus Valley civilization. Scientists from IIT Kharagpur and the Archaeological Survey of India have uncovered evidence that the Indus Valley civilization is at least 8,000 years old and not 5,500 years old, taking root well before the Egyptian and Mesopotamian civilizations. Moreover, we can see the same symbols found in the Indus Valley are also found in Göbekli Tepe and Easter Island, indicating a language and symbols that connect the civilizations. There have been discovered 3 submerged roads and cities in 3 different parts of the world, indicating that indeed there was a mass extinction event as described in the old ancient texts. The Bimini Road, which was depicted on the 16th century Piriris map, is now submerged underwater near the coast of Florida. Recently, the submerged ruins of at least 7,000-year-old road were discovered off the coast of the Croatian island of Korčula. The Neolithic structure, which once connected the island to an ancient artificial landmass, has been found hiding underwater in Croatia. They found the road after digging under the mud in the sea. Another site is the underwater structures found off the coast of Unagi Island in Japan, which some experts speculate are the remnants of a submerged city from at least 5,000 years ago. These 3 cities, located in different parts of the world, were likely submerged during the event described in all ancient texts like the Sumerian text known as the Epic of Gilgamesh. The Satapatha Brahmana text written in the 8th century BC mentions a flood story known as the Deluge of Manu or Manu's flood, the biblical flood of Noah, the ancient Greek flood caused by Zeus, and many others. Another clue is the famous Mount Shasta in California. Many claim that the mountain is the most paranormal place in the USA. Some of the claims suggest that inside the inactive volcano there is an ancient city named Telos, which was built by the occupants of Lemuria to save themselves from the doomsday. Interestingly enough, the mountain is named by the indigenous Shasta people who believe that the mountain is a home to a god. What is strange is that the name Shasta has Tamil origins, and Shasta is an old Tamil god and a name for the god of destruction and the new beginnings, Shiva. Take a look at this old sculpture found in Tamil Nadu, India. Doesn't the crown he's wearing remind you of the Native American head ornaments with feathers? This can't be a coincidence, right? Too many coincidences are explaining the same thing. The main question remains, how is it possible that we haven't found any remains of the ancient advanced technology? According to Randall Carlson, the last catastrophic event, which included earthquakes, massive volcano eruptions, fire and giant floods that had the explosive power of multiple super nuclear weapons detonating one after another, as well as constant changes and mixing of the soil caused by that force, destroyed and eroded all technological advancements, rendering them unrecognizable today. Only giant megalithic stone structures remained, and as we know, stones can be properly dated. There are, however, some technologies found in archaeological digs and presumably in Antarctica with Operation High Jump, but they remain hidden from the public. This technology was preserved due to sudden freezes in certain parts of the world, just like today we find fully preserved frozen mammoths with food in their stomachs. It's my speculation that the occupants of the UAPs might be the elite survivors of the ancient civilization. In many UFO cases, such as the Roswell crash, the Aztec UFO crash, the Socorro incident and the Rendlesham Forest incident, there were symbols on the crafts that resembled the old Tamil Brahmi script, or as some call it, the Paleo-Sanskrit symbols. I can make an entire video about this if you want, so let me know in the comments. Also, I have more material about this topic, so if this video performs well, I will make part 2. There is an ancient reason why this topic was kept in secret. In my next video I will elaborate more on that and will touch the interdimensional aspect, the apparition of Fatima, the Bledsoe case and a few other similar encounters. It goes way back to the primordial tradition and the previous antediluvian civilization. I have a clear picture in my mind and I will make a video about this. I'm not claiming this to be the truth, it's just my opinion. The feminine trinity, the bull, the resurrection, the sun god, the cycle, here the phenomenon is interdimensional and there are ancient advanced races of survivors. And with this thought I'll end my video. I hope you like, share and subscribe with notifications on. Also, if you can, please consider supporting me on Patreon. Your support is the only way for this channel to survive. Thanks to my Patreon supporters.